Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
The understanding of the transmutation of the fields of the universe will become the new occupation of man. In a way, up to now, we looked into the skies to see the UFO. Mankind will look into the skies with the eye of the soul, not with the eye of the man. And universe and unicos is oyster. You got to understand that with a new understanding of the fields of the universe in motion, what we call energy, fields of the universe in the uniformity of the motion we call plasma, now has to be understood. Now has to be integrated into the structure of what we call life of the man in the space. We need to bring this change in, as now mankind has matured enough in numbers to be able to bring that burden of the change for the rest. You'll be amazed in the next few weeks and months how the drug traffickers will dump and try to make the dogs and the cats addict because they can't reach their bosses. And you do the same with your cat and dog, but just buy them ahead and put them on the line the hours that is transmitted. And we have set our system that there is no hacking. Now you have to understand how to bring the two fields of your soul, of physicality, you will call the spirit, and the soul of the man, to work together. That does not need the brain cell, but it works without it, the way you shall do when you become the passengers of the universe, as your brain in this amino acid cannot exist. We don't have a brain between the earth and the sun. It's got to be part of the knowledge of man in space that sooner or later mankind will come to understand that the totality of the knowledge shared belongs not only to man, is the right of every citizen of this planet. And it's the right of all of us to have access to it. We don't make a game of it, we make a life of it. Keshe Foundation is set to bring that change to technology, and we will have many enemies. Those who want us not to be there, and how they can bring that condition for them not to be. Try to understand what the emotion is. Try to understand how you create that emotion. Try to understand in what condition of physicality you create the strength with the interaction of the field of the soul that gives you that emotion. And then go to your soul and create the same field of strength that the interaction with the soul of physicality creates the same emotion. Then if you become mature to this, then it doesn't matter if the soul is the protector of the physicality or the physicality is protector of the soul. They work in a synchronized manner because they are both aware of everything. When you work in that strength, all the other souls and physicalities work on the same strength, then man shall not lie, man shall not cheat, man shall not kill, because I'm hungry, I need fields, and I'm given fields. It's got to be understood by majority of the people. And gradually, but all from the point of the first education, what it means to live with the soul, and what it means the existence of the spirit or the dimension of physicality. Our children will be educated to the knowledge of the universe from birth, the way they inherited the exosome and became paralyzed and become all the diseases they caused. It's just the energy and emotion which has brought that change. So the same shall be when a man understands this as a childhood, within the father's and mother's energy fields that has no X chromosome or Y. When the children of the man are created from the fields of the soul of the man, man shall bring no imperfect child to this world. That time has come. And that time is amongst us. And it's the time for us to bring it. In a coming time, in a very, very short time, as we are working in the background and development of technologies, as our team have to understand it, there'll be no room for vaccination. We transfer the energy of what we call the virus, which your body of dimension of physicality could be a virus on this planet, but on another planet or position in the universe is your food, to understand the transmutation from position to position. So you do come to the point that if you want to have a measles protection, you put your child this channel, this time allows this to be received as an energy. There'll be no ADHD, there will be no autism because of the mixture of the viruses. And the injections of fake ways they do deliver to them. Now, gradually, your eyes opening up, the capability and the possibilities which is now is open to mankind. You go on channel 24 and you can have as much apple as you like, but you won't pull an apple, you won't kill an apple. You want to have a lamb, you go on channel 26, you get to taste the food and everything of it, and you don't need to slaughter an animal. Now you understand how extensive this will touch you, and how satellites are needed, because the electronic satellites have a limitation of physicality. We need the soul satellite, which is of the same and transmute the same and is there to give and to exist. I made man in the image of myself. It Is our creator ADHD or is he a drug addict? None. And so should be the man. Now the man has the know. And this is the cornerstones of the teaching. This is the cornerstones of understanding the embodiment of the cosmic rays, the soul, the ganses, and everything else which goes with it. What will be the next step for you to understand the strength of the cosmic rays? Which one you need, which one you don't need. How do you attract it to yourself and how you reject some because you don't need it even though they're on target. Very soon once we start these systems to go public for you to tap into, you will tell us how you feel. You will tell us, today I didn't eat, not interested. Because today I receive what I need as energy through all the channels which is set up by Keshe Foundation. We govern the planet, not pieces of land. We govern through the soul and technology and knowledge, not by the gun policy and whatever sits with it. We need your support to be able to bring that change scientifically, correctly, and with the process and understanding of the whole lot, that we do not bring the change by wars, we bring change by love and creation of new country. I hope you understand what's on the table today and what is the part of the teaching. The main topic and the main objective of today is we do not need intermediaries. And nobody can protect the right of the Creator when themselves are abusers of the name of the Creator in the name of Ayatollah and the rest of it. I hope you understood the teaching of today. It has come to an end and you understand scientifically why to the abuse of the man by the religion. Unless you enjoy an intermediary because you still think, I haven't found either, so I double in weaknesses of my own lack of understanding. Look to understand, try to find out the knowledge, and at the same time try to be precise, that you don't need another intermediary. You understand the knowledge that there is no need for intermediary anywhere in the universe. Always said, my message hasn't changed. It's for you to understand, you mature to. When I said to the professors at the university in early 2012-13, when they wanted to send a student to the KF SSI, in which direction do you get your student to pray and bend when it's traveling the span of the universe and the earth is rotating and they're upside down and they're in different part of the universe which rotates itself? Where do you find your God to pray to unless your God is within you? Understanding the conduct. The message has not changed. And the technology and the knowledge has not changed. We just explain more of it that you understand it more freely.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the 493rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 6, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Cremond, and I'll be host once again in this series of workshops that have been ongoing for about a decade. And once again, we have the pleasure and honor of having Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation to present today's information and teaching. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin?
Yes. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to a series of knowledge seekers teachings from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, we welcome you back, and as usual, we try to share more knowledge and to see where we go and how we organize things according to a level of understanding. In the past 2 or 3 weeks, we have opened a new insight or new ways, or trying to find out, now that we have become the man of space, where are we going to land? What will be our future in space? And what are the possibilities? For sure, in a very, very short time, we will colonize this solar system. The key is not the moon anymore. Moon is part of us. The key is Mars, landing on Saturn, being able to swim in the oceans of the deepest, what we call liquid part of the solar system and beyond. We'll find out, and as we have seen, we some times ago, many years ago, sent a little thing going out with a disc on it saying we are humans and the rest. And after over decades, we are not even sure if the thing has passed the border of the solar system. And for us to travel in the dimension of the physical condition, understanding of the physical transportation of today is beyond imagination we can ever even get to the end of the solar system, let alone entering the galaxy. So mankind has to look into and understand the work of the universe, understand the two separate work, transportation, transmutations, energy, which we define in Keshe Foundation energy as magnetic fields in motion, because for a field to move, it has to have an energy. In the coming time, man will learn to teach both the states of conditions of the creation to his children, matter state and energy state as a plasma. Sooner or later, we have to resolve this matter. In the matter state, we have limitation of the friction, we have the limitation of the fuel, we have limitation of everything else. When we go to the energy, what we call dimension of the work of the plasma, then the limitation changes. There are no limitations as long as we understand the totality of the knowledge. We cannot, in most of cases, transfer the working and the functionality of the parameters of the matter state into energy system. In a way, we cannot work with matter state, but we can live within matter state and transmute in the dimension of the fields of the universe. Transportation is a matter of the matter state. Transmutation is using the fields of the universe to travel through. You cannot fly with a donkey. So we have to understand what we use for what purpose and what we're flying in the matter state, or we're flying in a what we call energy state, and then transmute ourselves to a position and transfer ourselves back into matter state if we need and we have to. This opens new angles of knowledge. This opens new opportunities for man to get involved in understanding both. And maybe in some cases, some knowledge of one can be used in the other. The limitation of the science of universe, as I've said many times, is the limitation of man, his own understanding of the work of the universe. Is us who puts a limitation on what can be done and what is achievable. In a way, everything is possible and achievable in the space. How we do it, how we mix it, how we manifest it, how we disappear it, how depends on how much we have understood the process of the creation. What we understood become our limitation. And what we strive to understand becomes what we call the target.
Sorry,
the
Mr. Keshe.
Go back and trying to find tools to use. Hello.
You broke up there, and you said something like is to become the target, I believe it was, and we lost that last part of your sentence there just now.
We have a bandwidth problem. Yeah, I think we have a bandwidth problem. Yep. So we have to resolve it in another way. Let me see what we can. Give me a minute. I have to switch over and see how we can do it. Just 1 second, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, well, bear with us for a minute or so while Mr. Keshe switches some gear on his end and gets a better connection. We have a couple of questions already in the Q&A. And people that are attendees here are welcome to place questions in the Q&A for the second part of our show, where Mr. Keshe will be answering questions. And also our YouTube and live stream audience, folks there are welcome also to put a question into the chat. Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you back?
Yes, we're trying to take a couple of minutes to bring in new servers into operation. Just give me if there is a cut or what we call short of bandwidth, we try to resolve it. As I said, it's for us to understand the limitations. Is for us to be able to somehow interface the matter state into the plasma state, into the dimension of energy. In one level, in one way, we started a new chapter in teachings in the past couple of weeks in how man will achieve this, how man has to start changing a lot of calculations which become the cornerstone of his work to totality of reality and the data which is available to us in real-time conditions. We have come to explain that what we call the speed of light limitation does not exist in transmutation. What the limitations has been put, and the numbers and figures and some unreal conditions we have accepted is not workable in the dimension of what we call present science of space technology. How would we, in the future, in the coming time, will change, and how we will, in some ways, become able, have the possibility to understand and facilitate the both side of manifestation, matter state and transmutation, and what we call the transmutation together. In so many ways, if we apply the matter state into the plasma state or energy fields in motion in a dimension of magnetic fields, in most of cases they don't fit. Do we have to send our children back to school, and many of us educated a long time ago, back to understand new things? Or are we going to fight it because it didn't happen during our time? In where we sit, and in talks and conversations, in negotiations, and in all sorts of cases over past decade, we have found out the biggest challenge for the new understanding, the separate understanding of transmutation and energy, will be the biggest hurdle for next generation to overcome. And the opposition will come from the leaders of the science, those who we accepted to lead us. To break this taboo, it becomes the responsibility of us and the world leaders to bring education leaders to bring about the new parallel teaching. One of the points which will be raised in London conference will be this: separation or amalgamation of the science of the matter state and energy in real-term conditions across this planet. We need to understand, we have to understand, we have two tools. And then we understand researches like what goes in CERN, researches like plasma technology, researches like what we call jet projects, all will be revised, because we need to understand the separation of between two and teach our future generation from now that they understand both together. Our children go to school today and learn maths, physics, chemistry, biology, all in matter state. In the condition of the new technology, understanding and emergence of technology, our children have to learn maths in matter state calculation, maths in plasma calculation, biology in the plasma condition, like we call GANs, and in matter state, we call stones or weight or what we call objects. To understand the physics of the plasma and matter state, understand the chemistry interaction in plasma and in physics matter state, in chemistry matter state. We'll find out that in the future, our own children will have a lot of confusion about the emergence of the new science, because they don't fit, or one has to be clear about what is this and what is that, and where it needs to be done, because they'll be transmuting through the soul, they'll be transmuting the energy of their body, and then physically manifesting and hitting a car. In the plasma condition, there was no car because I could go through it. Now I converted to matter state, I have to stand the problem of physicality. Oops, by accident I manifested in the highway with hundreds of cars going up, where I wanted to be as energy and manifest on the other side of the road and enjoy the park. Now we understand what is it, and it's not just teaching the plasma technology, traveling with the speed of light and beyond with the speed of magnetic fields, and then trying to exist in the matter state too. The education of the future, which sits with our leaders, will come in the way shape of teaching the two technologies together. It has to be done that way. That in the future, all generations of human race will understand the totality. And not for those who understood the two become to abuse the one who did not understand the plasma and abuse and true dimension of physics, of matter. Then they'll become like prophets and magicians. The ignorance and illiteracy in the dimension of plasma technology, energy field motion, will cost nations beyond the slavery of today, if it's not understood fully. The slavery will be carried on by those who think they understood part of it or some of it or a bit of it, and then they take the rest to ransom, or they become prophets and magicians of the future. So it's important for us to set out to understand, to be able to comprehend the totality of the knowledge on both parallel lines. This is important as you learn how your soul works in the dimension of energy and embrace the physicality to transmute it to another position. You don't have a computer. Do you dream and match and set a system for you to go and see the grandfather who died 200 years ago or 100 years ago or 500 years ago in the future when the man lives a cycle of 1,000 years? Or do we do what our brain does, systematically finds the condition? System control, position will not come to us. They are not going to fit our brain with a chip and a microchip here and there that we can control it. I set it at this, I'm going to see grandma. I set it at this, I'm going to see the grandpa. Our body, when it dreams at night, there is no control system in it when it goes and sees the grandpa. Mankind has to unravel this knowledge. Mankind has to unravel the way through the soul as a dimension of energy. We travel the span of universe to see the grandfather who we saw when we were young children or young boy or a girl, and now we are 70, 80, and that was 70 years ago. Where did he go? How come we can dream about him, but we cannot see him or know where he is? Now that we know the body of the man is creation to feed that soul, that nursery of the soul for the universe, now we understand the totality of the connection. We have to understand the totality of the connection, not only for this planet, but beyond. It's not just having an address on the Fifth Avenue, block so-and-so, floor so-and-so, apartment so-and-so, blah, blah. Universe has no addresses, and there is no zip code. Our dream of the grandpa last night had no letter and no zip code to go to. It used the connection of the fields. It used the strength of the field. It used the strength of the emotion of us for the grandpa, which took us to that address. And strange enough, he still looks the way he was 50 years ago. He has not aged. Or have we given it a picture frame according to the memory of the time and place? When we think or we go back 200 years, 5 centuries, 10 centuries, and we see we come in touch with the soul of someone in that time, how do we do this? How is it done? There is no control system, no gadgets, no microchips in our brain. It's connection to the soul of our ancestors. the way they pass through the DNA or RNA the information to us, and how they were connected in by time and space and place to the others that we see, that image control of the dimension of physicality. There's still a lot to learn. There is still a lot for us to understand. And in so many ways, the education of the Keshe Foundation, it actually starts in reality from now on. It's the responsibility of your knowledge seekers to understand and become the teachers of the future, but not to become the prophets of the future. Try to understand, to explain the upcoming time, the possibilities, and the future, which is there in the dimension of plasma, in the dimension of field interaction. And then try to explain the two together. We cannot dismiss whatever man has achieved in the matter state, but we always add that there is additional knowledge that we need to learn. Dismissing most of the gained knowledge in the matter state, dismissing one's own creation in the dimension of matter state. But does not mean whatever has been done is correct. But in totality, we are in this position as a race due to accumulation of the knowledge from the past and added on today. And it'll be what it'll be for our future race. The whole understanding of the world of creation comes in the dimension of understanding the work of the plasma, energy fields, connection of the fields. In fact, mankind has not made much strive to understand this, even though we played with them for centuries. We get a magnet, and we play with it with another magnet. But we never understood the work of the fields, the sharing of the fields of the two magnets, the interaction of the fields of the magnets with the environment that allows such a position, what we call between the two, attraction, repulsion, what we call magna positioning. If you really go back into the depth of it, we have not completed to understand the process of the matter state magnetic fields. And that is why we have a problem understanding the interaction of the fields of the plasma. And the biggest problem will be in the future to be alert at any moment in respecting to which one you are in, and which one you want to go to, and which one you want to return back to. Does not mean that you always want to be in the matter state to enjoy. You might find more pleasure in the plasma state, and sometimes come to the matter state for whatever reason and go back to the plasma state, where there is no age time. When there is no time, you cannot age. When you put a magnet on the table, does its energy change today? Does its energy and the position changes in 10 years' time? Does the energy of the magnet varies in 100 years' time? Would its effect on its surrounding will change? Then we understand we have not even managed to measure that, let alone going to the next stage of the plasma, understanding the field interaction. Is the field interaction of a solid magnet the same as plasma magnet? A plasmatic magnetic field is Earth. A solid state matter is a magnet in your hand. Is there any difference? And would they lose their energy at any time? Can you interact with it? Can you use it? Can you manipulate it to move it? How do we connect the magnetic field of the matter state to magnetic field of the plasma state? Many of you should have gathered that long time ago. How to connect the magnetic field of the plasma to magnetic field of matter state. If you don't understand, how do you want to transmute? How do you want to transport yourself? Now we look at the Japanese magnetic tracking of the railways. We have wondered they do this. How do we get our souls, our fields of energy of our life on that track, but in the magnetic field of the universe? Is there any difference? Or because we haven't understood, one is a wonder and advancement in technology, and the other one we just ignore because at the moment we cannot even comprehend it. The whole structure of the teaching, the whole understanding of the process of the teaching, it comes by understanding, discussing, and bringing up the points that you understand. This comes on the back of one of the questions of the last week. As I said, we have just started. And step by step, we'll bring in the whole understanding of the totality. That you understand, the knowledge seekers of the future understand the separation, the interaction, and transmutation and transportation from one to the other. You don't get on a jet plane and you go to see the grandpa who died 200 years ago. Sorry, no plane has been built for the dreamline. You transfer energy of the emotion of the love, feeling, and connection that connects you to the grandfather at that point in time. There are no donkeys between the body of the man and the soul of the man to take the body of the physicality across to another part of the universe where the soul of the grandfather is. Even the creator haven't created such a donkey, let alone for man. We have to understand the separation and clarity between each state of the what we call existence. There are other states of existence which at the moment is blind to man. Once man matures and understands the process of energy, plasma, transportation, magnetic field motion, another science of creation will emerge. That science will give man a dimension of knowledge to be able to transmute across universes. That knowledge at this moment of time will not be comprehended by man. You have to understand the knowledge of the creation from matter state to plasma, and then the fields of the creation, which leads to creation of plasma. This goes back to the question that how and where and the way our creator, we call it, was created if there was nothing. That knowledge is hidden because man cannot understand it. That knowledge is within the man today, but he has not understood the transmutation. He has not understood dimension of existence without tangibility. He cannot even imagine the next step, where it actually was created from the interaction of the fields of the plasma for creation of its own physical body. In a coming time, we shall teach about that state of interaction, that level of creation, where the fields came from. This is the title of the book number 8, The Origin of Magnetic Fields, the essence of the creation of the Creator and the environment the way he was created. If you go back into my teachings, we always said book number 8 will be about the origin of magnetic field. The origin, the essence, our Creator was created. Out of his creation, we are created, and we call it the universe and unicos. That knowledge is not open to man, even though I can teach it today. The knowledge of the creation of the Creator is the knowledge when the man masters the totality of the knowledge of the creation in the plasma and the motion of the magnetic fields. Now it is important for us to gradually to understand, not by formula, because unfortunately there was no formulas when you dreamed the grandfather last night to get you to him, but you went there, you saw him, you got the kiss and the cuddle, you got the smell, you got the emotion of the presence, maybe you had a dinner with him, and you came back and you say, Mom, last night I dreamt about the grandfather. Where in fact you say, last night I was with grandfather. He was okay, he's busy, he's still trying to make a seed of the planet, but in the dimension of energy, but he's very happy where he was and where he is. And Mom says, you should have said hello to him and miss him. Because the mother would have been educated to the level to understand the work of the plasma, even though she has the ability to do the same herself. One of the biggest challenges for the knowledge seekers will be the totality, understanding of the totality, or at least partially understanding the process of the creation, life, and existence in the dimension of plasma. To what extent our knowledge seekers will strive, to what extent our knowledge seekers will try to understand and practice the knowledge of the transportation and transmutation depends on their fear of their own existence in both dimensions. Many of you will not go through the transportation to transmutation out of the fear of, would I come back? Would I be able to manifest, or do I become a nomad in the space? There are methods, there are ways that you can never get lost in the space of the plasma. And the question you ask, would I carry my physicality with me? Would my physicality be there? If I get lost, I can suddenly manifest myself, gain confidence, and then if I feel good, I go back to the transmutation. But there is primarily one big question. If you get scared and manifest yourself, where would you manifest yourself? On Earth, in the space, on another planet, in another galaxy. And if you had that fear and you've forgotten what to do in a matter state, to convert, to interact, to connect to the plasma state, would you become the man in the desert of the universe? Lost. and not know where to go. The other position of the understanding of the teaching will come when we travel with dimension of the plasma. We'll have a zero-time transportation, as it is connected to the world of the magnetic fields. Then it becomes, can we or should we allow ourselves, our physicality, to transport itself in a matter dimension? Or would be converting ourselves to the energy, transmute, and then convert back into matter state? It'll be an interesting time when your child knows to do this, and she decides to go and see the uncle in New York, and you're sitting in London, and you have to get a plane 18 hours on the way. You go to the airport to get a ticket, to get on the plane, to get there, to get home to your brother, where he's actually been there 10 seconds since he's left you. The biggest problem for human race in the coming time would be the separation between the knowledge gained by youngsters, new generation, and the old ones. It's very much like the computer games of today. We see our grandparents and our parents watching us with wonder how we play on the computer game, where they have no clue. It's just a screen and you play the game. You have the knowledge and they have to watch as they not practice the amount of time from age of 2 or 3 or 4, you played with that keyboard, with everything else, and you mastered it. Very soon, you'll get to that position that your children will master transmutation, and you become a, what I call a witness, like your grandparents watching you, the computer game. We need to bring education of the public education to all dimensions, to all citizens of this planet on an equal basis, in a way that just because the Americans know how to transmute and transport, some of them does, don't become disadvantaged to the boys in South Africa or in the jungles of Amazon. It is the responsibility of the Keshe Foundation, who has brought this knowledge, to share this knowledge, irrespective of border, color, race, and religion, nationality, and which place in the universe you are, you come from, and will be in. The teaching of transmutation and transportation will not be only for man, but man will teach the others in space that they have the same ability to do, even though they're in the most advanced UFOs man could not imagine. 20 years ago, he would be ahead of them. They have mastered transportation, but the human race through the teaching will master transmutation. And that is a gift from Mitra to mankind. If you understand this, you open the horizon of the universe. And it's your responsibility at any age, today, tomorrow, in 100 years' time, to teach it freely, unconditionally to another being. In respect, totally irrespective of his race, color, religion, creed, and which part of the universe he comes from. In so many ways, we had to clear this, that in the coming time, now that you work with the ganses, you understood the field of the ganses, you felt them, you went through the systems of the lens, and you did everything else, Now this has to become a mainstream understanding and education for all of us in all schools across this planet, that no race in the future will be behind. Advancement in science allows us to teach the soul instantaneously. It does not matter where in the universe it will be. It's just to find out, to understand how, the way it has been done, and for us to understand it first, that we don't teach the wrong thing the wrong way. Operation and existence of life across this universe is the same, irrespective of where you could be, irrespective of what knowledge you carry and what shape you might have. You might be happy with the features of 2 arms and 2 legs, and in another dimension you'll be just a box, but it's still the same emotion as you had when you were a human. It'll be interesting in once the mankind understand this, how he will see the other creatures and creations of the Creator. We live in one dimension as man with a soul and mobility, and we carry the same soul, and in dimension of physicality, we might be like a stone on that planet, where it's advantageous for us to exist in that position, time and place, in that manner. As I said, as we enter the new educational part, in respect to the energy field transportation, we have to continuously remind you as knowledge seekers in which dimension we are talking about. And from on, most of the teachings is on the dimension of transmutation, interaction of the fields, and not physical interaction of the man. How you react, how you embrace the knowledge will give you the advantage in how far you can experience better or more adventurous part of the life in dimension of the plasma, or we call the soul. To what extent we'll share this knowledge will not be on how much of it you understood as knowledge seekers. We teach it on the record that someone in the future might listen to it and grasp it the first time, and does not need someone to teach and change that it suits him or her for the system to be applicable to them or to the people around. Understanding the life in the dimension of matter state, understanding the life in the energy state or plasma state, and understanding of the manifestation of the one within the other is as normal as ABC today for man, but man has not seen, has not, and does not want to distinguish between the two, as he's happy with the status quo of today. One of the most important part of teaching comes in understanding the dimension of the plasma, the strength of a plasma, and how each individual will enjoy to be part of the work of this plasma. Does not matter where, when, and how. In the coming time, we'll teach you how to connect through soul to the matter state through the soul of the matter, not in the dimension of physicality of the matter. How to separate the two and how to live with both in the same position and dimension. Education of the new plasma technology in a physical dimension is much harder than the first part of the teaching of this technology. There are many reasons for this, and in the coming time, we shall explain step by step how each one needs to be done. But initially, we leave it to you as knowledge to come out with the questions, come out to, in a way, a strength of your understanding and what you're looking for in the future. In the coming time, measurements of the plasmatic magnetic field strength will become the cornerstones of your transportation. Today, we have problem even to choose the fuel. That's why we have different types and different ways of using fuel. In the future, mankind should understand how to use the resources, but do not abuse the resources. And this will be a big change for mankind. In a way, if you're a baby today and you go to sleep at night, your energy, your level of understanding is set according to that time and place, not for higher or more. This teaching of today had to be done, needs to be done, that knowledge seekers have a direct clarity and understand where we are going and how we are going and the way we are going. A couple of weeks ago, I asked you, with what you know, what you have, try to come up with estimation of the life on this planet, or the life of what we call universal time zone. How do we go from one to the other? What happens if one goes in another dimension and you're left behind in the other? Would the Father will call you blind? Or have you become blinded by knowledge? The technology of plasma, motion of magnetic fields, and how they are connected is important for the future space technology. How do we get a matter state, the energy to somewhere else and convert it? Can we take the table and chair, which are our favorite, to another dimension? As we travel the span of universe, that when we get there, we still would like to have that comfortable chair. Would our chair exist in the new dimension and feel the strength? Would our soul lose part of his, what we call memory bank, part of his energy in interacting with the new plasmas or dimensions of plasmas in the universe? How do we protect it? How do we keep the way we do on the physical side, everything to keep the integrity of our body, the fingers, the hand, the nose and everything else together, that it identifies us as us in the dimension of the plasma? And how do we teach our youngsters? How do we teach the coming up generation about the new plasma technology, changing the world of physics? A couple of nations who are planning to implement this have a problem with this and they don't know how to work and how to use it for the future generation. Coming to the teaching, it becomes important for us to understand how do we change the strength of magnetic fields, that we can move up and down in different magnetic field strength into a higher order or to the order that manifests us as a matter existing condition, as who we are. To what extent, how do we calculate through emotions and not by calculators that we can tell the grandpa we missed even though he died a couple of 100 years back? How do we transmute between two positions when one of the positions is already taken, even though you cannot see? You have to go to the emotion of the soul of the man. You have to go into understanding the totality of the existence of the man. You have to realize when you go in the dimension of the plasma, even though you're aware of the existence in the physical dimension, you trust the strength of the plasma to protect the integrity of life which it carries, plus existing to confirm its own existence. How do we calculate going from one place to another and we actually land there? Need to be understood that magnetic fields will have a dimension and direction, and how to calculate both. Are there vectors, and are they or do they have limitation in transporting one to the other? In the coming week teachings, I teach you in detail, but not with numbers, because numbers game is over. Now we need to understand the combination of the work in plasma state and the speed that we travel in conventional time is zero. Let me explain to you something you understand very, very easy, and it's happened to all of you. You have traveled in a dimension of transmutation, magnetic field energy, and you're sitting with a grandpa who died years ago. He's giving you tea, coffee, cake on the table, a toy for your child who's with you to play while you're enjoying his presence. And then suddenly somebody says, John, wake up, it's time to go to school. And then you have to bring everything back to the dimension of existence and become in a matter state getting up to go to school. How do you calculate this transition if you want to do it? I was standing in a near a field and watching a lot of people waiting for a harvest machine to harvest the seed. And in that process, no one knew what they will get. No one knew what the next process will be to get something. But they are physically present. They make a decision to be there to see what they get. But does this apply in the dimension of transmutation? Do we queue up in the world of the transmutation? or we rely on what we set as a mobile system and a bike that it can take us to a position that we can take up and catch up with what we took. Ask yourself a question. What happened in that instant when you have to come out of what you call a dream to waking up to go to school, to waking up because someone says, Johnny, it's time to go? Did you switch up everything? How fast did you manage to come back? Grandpa was in another position across the universe, becoming a planet. And well, how did you get there? You have no rockets, and you have none of these new technologies of mobile phones to transmit you, because you don't have the knowledge. How would you do it in the dimension of physicality? How do you nourish this and teach this to your body in the coming time? Then, if you can understand how you came so rapidly from the other corner of the universe to be present because mom called you with her voice and you are there solid, not moving because you're still dreaming about going through the process, to get up, to teach and to feed, that they can carry. What would be and how you would decide that, okay, you woke me up, but today's a Sunday, I don't have to go anywhere, so I'm going back to bed. And you decide, can you decide and go back to the journey and see the grandpa again? Because you didn't finish enjoying his existence. What mechanism was used in our brain to bring us billions of kilometers, according to the man, or light years, according to the science of today, across the universe instantaneously to manifest yourself, to answer in a physical dimension to Mama, I'm awake. What happened to the grandpa? And how did you manage to do this? High speed travel, instantaneous. Does it mean what I talked you learned to do? Try for next week or by next week to create a condition or find a system that you can fit into it and see if you can fit into the dimension of the reality and physicality. We have to discuss and bring these on the table, that you will start distinguishing between the matter and the plasma state. You will start distinguishing in what can be made. I want a wall here, but in the transmutation dimension of the transportation, and not in the solid state of wall. I lose a little bit as a child, but I gain a lot in understanding the totality. We go for a small break, we come back, and we answer some of your questions. But please understand the work of the matter state and understand the work of plasma. And then in the coming time, we try to go through the process together, that we don't miss much of creation. Rick, if you like, take us for a break and we come back and we see what we can answer.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Keshe. This is the 493rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, July 6, 2023. We'll take a few minutes off here for commercial messages and be back shortly.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, we're back again at the 493rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 6th, 2023. Okay, this is the second half of our show, which generally means Mr. Keshe is willing to answer questions from the public here. So I'll remind our attendees before we begin that you have a virtual hand here in the Zoom broadcast that you can raise, and then we can allow you to open your microphone in order to speak. Otherwise, people can post questions in the YouTube and live stream chat, as well as the chat in the Zoom and in the Q&A section of the Zoom in particular. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin?
Yes, with great pleasure. A couple of things to announce or to remind is that the session of 7, 14, 21st, 28th, and 30th of the July with the 3-hour sessions will not close at the given time. It's open till literally 29th is the session you join, or you can join the session of that week, or you can join from the beginning for all the sessions. We expect a lot of things in this process. First of all, it's not that you are joining for whatever purpose you are. We are testing the strong developed technologies in the background for our purpose for development of technology. Keshe Foundation is a research structure, and whatever we do is for us to learn something and develop something that benefits us and our future generation, our future time. In the last week, Friday, elevation of the soul of the, what we call abuses of the children, we usually have a survey. We do a survey to understand how you feel. But we have developed the technologies in the background, and we feed you in the process of the system, or we bring matters, structures in the background into play, very simple ones, which allows us to see the effect of your soul, collective soul of the people participated, their emotion and their physicality and everything else. And we didn't need to do a survey anymore, because our systems in the background gave us all the data we wanted. If I would have taken the data from the screen and put question to the people, 90% would have been exactly what we got from our systems. In a way, now we don't need to ask you. We didn't need to ask. We relied on the data we collected in the background from the feed, the energy of your soul, which means it cannot lie. We see it directly. We see when the soul takes to elevate the physicality and the soul of physicality. We see the challenges of the soul of physicality. We see how the physicality responds to the situation. And we understand this fully, and we monitor this in the background fully. We can add to it. We change parameters. And in most of the cases, you see our what we call service line on, but all of your lines are off, which means we are acting, we are testing, we are delivering new technologies. And then we understand how the next step shall be, how will be. So for the next, from the 14th on, the sessions will be 2 or 3 hours. Many of you ask us, which session can I join? Can I come in this session? Can I come? You can come in any session. We'll befit you for that session. There are so many different people with different needs or different, what I call wishes and different conditions who come in. So for us, is not important if which one will fit. We don't announce this section today is for this, and next session is for that. We are testing. Maybe you come in all the 4 sessions, and in the second session you receive what you're looking for. In the first session you might not feel anything. Maybe what you gain from the first and the second session in the third session will bring you to what you came or you wanted to. In the sessions of 14, 21st, 28, you need 2 microphone heads minimum. One you put on your head as usual, and one you connect as adapter to your where you want the change in your body. So the session of this coming 4 sessions is for you. You want to elevate your soul. You want to get rid of a pain in the arm. You want to send a loved one emotional change. You want to put their pictures. You want to change a sick dog, a fish in a tank. You have that facility this time. So you need to get hold of an adapter which can connect your mobile phone to 2 headphones at the same time, a stereo, and join the session. If you want to change a condition on the left side or the right side of the body, join one session just using the same phone on the right side or its left side. It's all how you want to do it. We cover a full spectrum, and in some cases we change things to fit our technology. Don't forget, you are joining for us to learn to help the next generation. On top of it, you get the satisfaction of maybe what you want, why and how you entered this session. And it'll be very extensive. And most probably at the end of it, we'll have a session to comprehend, to understand how it affected some of you. The process of what we call the developments of the technology comes and has come out of the knowledge seekers teaching and knowledge seekers understanding the process. So if you're planning to join us, you can join. We're trying to put a limit on it because we want to understand exactly how it will work. We want to understand how much we have helped you, how much you have helped yourself, how much it has brought change to you. You're an addict, you're an abuser, you've been abused, you have cancer, you have depression, you have a tooth broken, you want to grow a tooth, you want to extend your leg, you need a hip replacement, you're emotionally in a stress, you want to see if your fish will change its characteristics. All depends on you in how you apply your emotion to the system. We are here to deliver, not what we call to do with the physicality. We are here to see how we can elevate the soul, that the soul brings a change on the need of the soul of physicality, and how it will transfer that to the physical condition of the man, or the beast, or that. So join us in this 4th session, what we call group of sessions we put for your sake and for the sake of gathering knowledge. And then we'll see how we build up to the August, what we call sessions. August sessions will be very, very interesting. We try to bring in August the 25 knowledge seekers together. And sometime in August or early September, that will take shape. We'll announce or we'll send you the place to meet sometime in early August or sometime in August. And we try to get consensus that you all can be in a place and time to be together. How you organize your ticket, how you organize your stay, and the rest of it. And then we go for the 200, and then the 65 we put on. The process of development of the technology has been amongst the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers and has to stay free, research-based. Has to be no limitation and no control on it. And we control only to extend the knowledge and how we collectively see it to go to the next step. We might have some news for you in the coming weeks that will bring changes to the whole structure of the Keshe Foundation's operation internationally. We are awaiting ourselves for that. And once we are informed and we are fully understand it, then we'll pass on to the Keshe Foundation family internationally. We hope that it'll be to the advantage of all of us as one nation, one planet, one race. The other point we have to remind you is that the Keshe Foundation Exhibition Center closes door by end of next week or the week after. We are closing the Keshe Foundation exhibition altogether, and it will move to one of the major cities in the world. So those of you who want to go to the exhibition, maybe next week it'll be the last week, or if you can extend it a week after that. But by second, third week of July, the exhibition center of the Keshe Foundation lens will shut down for good. On the other hand, the Keshe Foundation operation worldwide will expand in a different way that will inform you as we come to it in the coming months and weeks. Are there any questions?
Yes, we have questions in several areas here. Let's start with one instance. You mentioned the plasma session with the headsets. He says, can you explain in more detail how the technique in the plasma session with units and headsets and the microphones work? Does the plasma fields or souls follow the headphone line by way of the internet? Thanks a lot.
This is a well-practiced situation with the Keshe Foundation knowledge for the past nearly 7-8 months. We use the headphones in a way of GPS location of your soul. And the transfer and the rest of it is done that way till gradually you receive your what we call combination sets, which are getting ready. I think a number of them will leave in the next couple of weeks or so. And then you use those for interaction and interface. The what we call the headset units are going through the completion phase in the next few weeks, and they'll be released for those of you who purchased it. And then you will see the difference. It's like listening to mono and a stereo system, and then you feel the difference. This, you will feel the emotion than actually listening to the word. And then you gradually have to learn how to translate these emotions to the words, to your way of living. Gradually you build it up. We even advise you some points still use the two headphones on top of each other. I mean, if you use a small inner headphones with the new headphones on top, to gradually home in the physicality and the soul of the man together. When we come to it, we'll teach you slowly as the systems are getting finished and set up by our team in the next few weeks. On the other hand, you just use what I call adapter that allows two headphones to join your what we call handset, and then you use one as usual for the head, another one for whatever use you join it for. Any questions? We will advise you during the closed session in how to actually place things and put things in places. Don't worry about that part. As you've been in other sessions, you gradually will learn, and we guide you how to switch your system on, how to switch your system off, and where to go, and what to do, because we control a lot of things in the background. It'll be more or less the same. In those private sessions, we explain to you the use of your headsets, for what purpose you're in, and then what you can do, and you learn. And as usual, there are translators who translate it to the languages of the people present. Any other question?
Okay, from Peng Peter on YouTube. How will the future of transportation be? Will large-size group traveling be handled by big corporations and governments like the plane traveling we have today? Are you there, Mr. Keshe? You're not hearing you. Oops, I guess he's dropped out briefly. He's coming back now.
Hi, Rick. I just dropped off.
Yes.
And I came back in.
Yes, hi. Okay, did you hear the question or not? Let me repeat it, perhaps.
No, I just dropped off the scene.
Okay. So the question was from Peng Peter in the YouTube. How will the future of transportation be? Will large-size group traveling be handled by big corporations and governments like the plane traveling that we have today?
You got to realize as I say, we are running two horses in the same race from the Keshe Foundation point of view. This is one of the discussions I had recently with some government officials and people who understand this. We are teaching about transportation, new maglev system, maglev position system. And then at the same time, we are teaching, or we're developing the energy transportation system, what we call transmutation. In either case, Keshe Foundation will be a major share player in, at least at the beginning of it, maybe the first half a century. And then we'll see the talents from the rest of humanity and other races of the, what we call universe, will bring in and add to it. And then we collaborate in. Once we open the doors into universal community on a physical dimension, mankind will get a flood of new technologies coming in. At the same time, we will flood the other races with the technologies which we have, they don't have. It won't be one-way traffic. That part will be a massive change for the dimension of physicality. You like to go with the UFO. The other part, which comes with the transmutation and the motion or energy of the plasma transfer, that will come as the unique work of the human race. Even though other races have tried this, have not succeeded, or have not developed fully into what it should be, and it'll come through the humanists. That is where you become the teachers, you become what it'll be. And for a long time, human race will be heading in that direction, and will be heading what we call the knowledge in this. because of the situation which is and the way it's been brought up. And again, for part of this initial stage, Keshe Foundation will be part of the major player on this. And then we'll see the initiative, integration of the other things will bring new dimensions of transportation. We see clearly, and maybe next few weeks we can put a more light on it. The colonization of the moon and Mars by 2025 is inevitable, is on the card, depending how our nations and world leaders decide on it. If they push it further back by 2030, we should be able to colonize most of the planetary system on this in the solar system. Because once we learn to walk, running and jumping from one to another become easy. The stumbling block will come when we have to learn how to cross the bandwidth strength of this solar system. It's not easy. It's very similar to how we exit this planet, or we have tried to exit this planet, but in a larger scale, but we jump in a deeper ocean of magnetic fields. In that part, we have to learn how to transmute. Transportation and learning about it on this side of the inner solar system will be part of the work of the Keshe Foundation. And I'll head it for a time as long as I'm alive to teach you, to bring you to that point. Before I close my eyes the last time, we hope to be able to take man into the universe beyond galaxy. Which means there's a lot of teaching, there's a lot of work, a lot of understanding. We carry so much knowledge that it has to be shared. And in that process, maybe in the next 50 years, man will be able to cross this galaxy. It's quite feasible. Understanding the intuition and the ingenuity of man once he's given a chance to develop. Understanding it, and the biggest problem for the human race will be the shortage of numbers. Colonization, rehabilitation, curiosity of man to see the universe and the world of its creation will take a lot of men out of the work of this planet. Don't forget, we have no more judges, we have no more hospitals, we have no more doctors, we have no more schools where we can teach through the soul any language, any knowledge you need. Then you see there's a lot of what I call holiday makers. They don't need to be paid because they can all make the gold as much as they like in the back garden. But all the facilities through feeding the souls, feeding the physically, looking after them, become job of the rest because they enjoy serving and others serve them in the same way. These are not fairy tales. These are on the card within the next 40, 50 years. Then it comes, maybe take mankind another 200 to 500 years to cross this universe to another universe. Again, this needs a lot of guidance. And that will come through the soul of the child of Mitra. That's her responsibility, and not mine. And that's the path to the Creator, and not mine. In that time, then the knowledge, what you read in the book 1, 2, and 3, becomes your guideline because it's the same as you are. Life in other universes still exists, but you have to understand, can you live today under the ocean without any clothing? Or can you travel outside the space of planet Earth without any monkey suit? You'll be in that kind of dilemma. You have to understand new technologies. Mankind have to understand new sciences in how to survive in a space gap between the universes, and then how to exist in the others. Mankind will lose many men in this process. in a way, as I said in one of my talks some time ago, it becomes like a Roman time. If you remember, read the history, Romans, the mothers gave birth to children for them to become the soldiers of emperor. Many of us will create soul of man's life to become the passengers of the universe, to add to the knowledge of the man in the dimension of knowledge of the universe. Short term, next 5 or 10 years, for sure, we will colonize moon and other planet in a very mass numbers, not just one astronaut and one monkey suit, maybe you're flying out of Cape Canaveral or somewhere else. This comes on the back of the teaching. Iran, a space technology will head with the Chinese space technology together to this point. You will see close collaboration between the Iranian space nuclear industry and the Chinese in a very short time. And they will spearhead through the aegis of their peace to take us into the next level of the space travel, at least for a short time. And Keshe Foundation will be part of it. And will be heading the knowledge, and I'm sure the geniuses we have in the University of Iran and China, and those in other nations of the peaceful level will join us to take us to that level. So we have to learn first physical, those of us which are still afraid, do not want to touch the soul, and then those of us who travel this space through the dimension of the soul. If you travel dimension of the soul, energy space, that will take you not much long to travel the span of this universe. But the problem is you get lost in many places and we've got to get you back. And then there is a lot of other bits which is needed. So it's more or less what we said. Learning curve and understanding it will take about the same. So we foresee these things to come up in a what we call alphabetic order in next 2 to 5 years. And as we have brought the technology, we look at the technology different than others, we go into the next step of colonization. Possibly as what they call as a human race, not as nation-wide. And you hear things in the news, which is the basis for that development in the country. So if you think what might happen, it's what is on the card. If you want to go with the donkey, you choose the airplane because you like to wait in the airports. You choose the space-time transportation, which takes you a few minutes, or you would like to travel with us. As we see, there are still a lot of people who go around the world on the bicycle. And we still see people on the back of donkeys going from A to B. Even there is a car passing them as fast as they could imagine. And while we are driving car, we see aircraft above us doing hundreds of kilometers, covering the same distance as we are trying to do in the car. And then we see our space station guy going faster than even the planes on top of them, watching them, you know. And now we add another level above that, the space thing, which is the what we call plasma magravity technology, and above that, with the transportation of the energy flux, what we call the soul of the man. So it's a development step by step in the knowledge of the man. And the next level, transportation through what I call magravity positioning, will bring a new dimension of instantaneous, more or less 10-15 minutes flight time. And then those of you who like to go a step higher for what we call transmute across this planet and this universe, you learn how to go through the energy packs and through the solar. So the future is bright, and we are working very hard to make it happen in the smoothest way as possible. Any other question?
Carolyn had asked in the YouTube, aren't the moon and Mars not already colonized?
By other races, yes, we're talking about the man.
Okay.
Man has not mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of question marks. We are in the process, we said, for the first 2 people to go to the moon with a new plasma technology. Then we have to work. You got to understand there is a lot of bureaucracy. We are facing it today. I mean, even today at lunch, I was facing it. We are dealing with legislation. Doesn't matter, the technology is here. Legislating it that everybody can use it are the stumbling blocks in the technology and in upcoming science and technology. We can deliver the system that you can travel, we can expand your soul and do whatever you like to do. But because now it's done by equipment, and then ethical situation comes into it because now goes against everything. A religion somewhere has said something, it comes into legislation. Then you have this to come. This will be one of the biggest stumbling blocks for the release of this technology internationally. Unless a nation opens up and it says, we are going, you're going to be yourself. We have this problem in Iran. And I've mentioned it many times before. Iran and the Islamic nation has a huge problem to go to the moon. Moon is holy to the Islamic world. Now you have 1 million Muslims, many of them fanatic. Now you try to convince them that man can go to the moon. You cannot imagine this is impossibility to their brain, even though the nations are trying to will it. We have illiteracy in the knowledge of creation and in knowledge of God, and abuses of the man through what we call religion. It's one of the things which will emerge very soon. Once we open these doors, these mullahs and ayatollahs and rabbis and priests have to go to the same church and tell their people the truth about how you can go to the moon, how you can go to the Mars. And it cannot be just, it's very much, I said to one of my family members some time ago, you can't eat meat if it's not kosher or it's not halal. So you go to a supermarket, Muslims and Jews never buy meat because it's not a halal shop to buy meat in. Moon become the same. Moon is not for Muslims to go to because it's holy and it's blah and the rest of it. So there are exclusivity to places. You don't want to be with Muslims, you buy a house, you buy a property, you establish a residence on the moon. Now you understand the hypocrisy. And many Muslims come, it doesn't matter, with something wrong with it or we don't believe it or the rest of it. So we have to overcome a lot of dogmas with the same, with the same problems in Jewish and Christianity and the rest of it. And this needs legislation or opening of the time by religious leaders and lawmakers. And then we see in the next maybe 3 years, 5 years, emergence of the international law. What it means, laws that applies to all of us as a human race. Once we open the space, once we travel in the time of a zero time, a few minutes from one nation to another, new laws will become a structure set to rule the heads of the nations, not the United Nations. United Nations is a disqualified body of organization. We see this, part of this, to fall on the back of the Universal Council and the Earth Council. So those has to be passed that is equal for all of us. Does not matter where we do wrong on this planet or as a part of the colony on the moon, on Mars, and the rest of it. Then it comes equal teaching right across and sharing of the knowledge and technology equal amongst all the human race. This is one of the discussions I recently had with one of the men of power in one of the most powerful nations. That how we share the knowledge and technology, not exclusivity of one nation. And we need administration to see this through very rapidly. That we don't create a third world nation in a matter state. We create an equal nation in plasma state. As one nation. From the day we said one nation, one planet, one race was not in a matter state, because now all of you can do everything to create energy, matter, whatever you need, if you put your head into it. Now it comes to the matter of the plasma technology, energy in motion. And this knowledge has to be on one nation, one planet. And as all of us are related to it, once the teaching starts, we all go together, irrespective of time, place, and space. So this will bring us to that point. And then there's the maturity of what and how those who see the totality as members of Universal Council lead in the what we call legislation part of this organization, how they guide them through, irrespective of what language or race they come from. These are the few things which brings back or forces the nation, the governments, for a rapid development and see. There's a massive change in the pharmaceutical and world of medicine. People like Bill Gates and the others who planned, we saw the clandestine activities in other fields of the past 3-4 years for becoming the richest man just to bypass or have the control over, will become to non-existence. We see a massive change in pharmaceutical, where pharmaceutical will have no meaning. If we understand, we saw this in a situation with what we call COVID in Iran. We work with Iran National Defense University as a report, all of you see, and everything was done. But people inside the health authorities blocked it and stopped it because they're profiting through pharmaceutical. Now these structures will be dismantled. You understand the things you can buy, you can use, which does not need pharmaceutical system technologies, which can be centralized from one country. You can have all access to it. All these is not on the card. It's already processes started. The wellness centers of the Keshe Foundation are the beginning of this process. When you go through the process of the wellness, doesn't matter what condition you go to them, where you are in the world, you get the same time, the same service as the rest. We have already brought this into operation. Then it comes the feeding structure that again has to be addressed internationally by the world leaders. One of the biggest problems we have is world leaders, how for them not to lose their position as a world leader, but still be leading the section of the part of the world which they want to lead. In a way, all becoming one member, one party in the party of the human race, as I call it, and how we better serve. The biggest problem we'll see in the next 10, 20 years is taxation. How do you tax people to provide services where people have access to everything from outside the dimension of the country you live in? Because you're now providing a service. Now you go to a supermarket down the road, you buy the fruit or you buy the energy you want to use, whatever. Now you go on the line with an app, you buy your energy for living from somewhere, a server in Iceland or in the middle of China. You don't need the government. The government doesn't earn money from importing food or whatever and controlling through food. National food security will change drastically. And governments have to adjust to it. This is the part where governing parties of the world will run into problem as they want to keep the leadership. But in transitional time, with the rapid development of the space technology and opening of colonization, all these things will resolve itself in the next 20, 30 years. There's a lot of changes. And even today, we are working on that way to achieve this in the coming time. Is inevitable, and the human race needs this shock to change. And sooner or later will come once the what they call runaway train starts running. Everybody will fit into it to be able to be somebody in that train. And we have already pushed the train on track and it's rolling. Any other question?
We have a number of questions in the Q&A from Carlos. It says, good morning, Mr. Keshe, and all seekers of knowledge. We know about NASA's behavior and performance. Recently, they spoke about the shutdown of the internet due to the plasma emanated by the sun. Does this check out, or is it a fallacy? Thanks for the guidance.
I don't know. Go and ask them. NASA now is not everything. NASA is a very, very small player in a space technology. So, can they do what they do? There's a problem, and we know Russians and the Chinese are looking into it. Even I know Iranian governments are looking into it to move away from centralization of computers in the hand of the Americans, Microsoft and the rest of it. There's a lot of work is getting done, but you got to realize, again in this slide, the bringing up the new plasma communication will change a lot of things in the internet operation. There are changes here. Once we start releasing these new technologies, once releasing is getting released, new emergence of new ways of transferring technology, knowledge will come up. Superconductors, at room temperature superconductors will create us new chips that all the knowledge you need will be on one memory stick. Literally, you have the whole of whatever at your demand in your hand, and then nobody can disconnect you. Nobody can. What they said with Huawei will become impossibilities if we go the new way. In a very short time, Keshe Foundation will open channels with Huawei, as we done before, for Huawei to use the new plasma communication line, which allow them to bypass boycotts and sanctions of big companies because they're advancing the technology. We will work with American organizations the same. It's not just the Chinese, where the We work with the Iranian nuclear centers to transfer the space technology into Iran in conjunction with understanding. Don't forget, the first plasma nuclear reactor for flight was tested in Iran about this time, July, August of 2008. If the Iranian government opens the advancement in plasma technology to Iran, then in conjunction with other powerful nations, will change a lot of things. There's no restriction, there's no limitation. And we are in it, and we are doing what we can to bring that change. It's a cat which has been let out of the bag, and somebody has got the tail of the cat in their hand. They think they can get the cat back in the bag, but it cannot be done. And the end which is out is you knowledge seekers. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, I'm reminded there is a question that was asked in the last Knowledge Seekers workshop toward the end that you wanted to open up at the beginning of this workshop. So we kind of missed that, but here's the question. Could you open up a little more about, for our understanding, about magnetic plasmatic packets for transmutation and what the difference is between magnetic and gravitational fields that are for the matter state?
The plasmatic packaging is already been tested by Keshe Foundation. This is where partially we use you traveling to lens for us to develop it further, and partially in us developing other technologies which run in parallel, and many of you have participated in the Friday sessions we run in the past few months. In plasma packaging, the physicality doesn't come into line of operation. Plasma packaging, in a way, you travel on the line of the fields of the universe, and is to do to the newer space development technology. The magnetic field and gravitational field is very much on the line of the matter state transportation, which means you get attracted, you create a field to get attracted, or you create fields to be rejected from a position. Packaging is to do with the transmutation. The magnetic positioning, gravitational and magnetic field is to do with the matter state transportation. And even though you do the same thing, one is done in a way with the donkey and one is done with the jumbo jet. And the difference in understanding it is, according to a certain teaching of today, in how much you understand about technology and what you want to apply. There is for sure, and there can be no control on transmutation. If the knowledge seekers learn how to transmute, no government can control you. No race in the universe can control you. The way nobody can decide what you dream tonight. Because it's not a dream, it's actually your soul who traveled this part of the universe. You didn't have no passports, no taxation, no permission, you had needed no visa to go. Where in the dimension of magnetic technology, in terms of gravitational magnetic field technology, you will find governments, because it's physical, or people who think they are governing will bring limitations on who can come, who can go, and the rest of it. The beauty with this technology is the balance of the wealth across the human race. We would not see the extremes of poverty and we will not see the extremes of wealth, even though there will be a different balance of. Part of it will be done through the technology, and part of it will be done by governments or organizations for not to get the things reversed back to worse than what it was. One of the biggest problems has been in my talks with many governments in the past years is that opening the Keshe Foundation in technology mega, supporting it done, will bring chaos to the colonizing countries. You've seen the refugees of Ukraine. You've seen the refugees of Syria. You've seen the refugees of Libya. You've seen the Iranian refugees. We've seen refugees from Vietnam War in the past 50, 60 years. How many millions have moved, displaced, moved for a better life? If you put, according to the United Nations, the total refugees of the present time for the past 60 years together, once this technology released, this will be a peanut into what people will move, and move rapidly. One of the reasons that technology is so much objected and blocked and everything else by so many governments is that bringing this technology today in open, that's why we are teaching it for you to do and for you to teach the others, is just put how many hungry people in third world countries who they became third world country because of the debts to the colonizing countries will move to the countries which they colonized them. I don't think you find a single room empty anywhere in the United States or England or France or Germany. It'll be populated. People will sell ticket up on the mobile phone. We can send you to London to live in such and such a place. You don't need to pay no rent and nothing, and everything is there. These are the realities. The way you come to us, the way you came to us and you went to Moon and Mars, the way you came and you changed your pH in your body, very soon, once this technology understood and become free, it will become an app technology, which means people can send you anywhere in the world with buying a ticket on the app. Because all they need to do is to deliver the energy through your headphone, the way we do. Then, is there any border? Then, do you still see an African living in a what I call a hut, than the luxury apartments in New York, Tokyo, and Washington? Now you understand why there is such a huge opposition to Keshe Foundation work. They can delay it a few years, but they cannot stop it. So it comes to the point when you have access to the plasma technology, plasma packaging, would you like to live on this planet which is so full of so much abuse, than to go and start your own little village colony on the planet or somewhere where you feel good? Extended the village, not up the hill, but up to the next galaxy and next other place where you feel good with it. These are the realities, but how fast they'll come to it is not that technology, and the technology is there, is how you knowledge seekers jump out of this city making answers and playing Maghreb game and actually get on with the real knowledge development of the technology in the dimension of the expander, the solar, the magnetic field expansion. And that's the difference. Any other question?
Okay, more questions from the Q&A. From Cristiano, actually from Pamela from the Brazilian community. Excuse me. In the last teaching, you spoke about the cosmic rays. Are the boundaries of our universe related in any way to these magnetic field lines where souls can travel?
Partially, yes. But it's just like part of it, not all of it. There are certain limitations, and in time, mankind will learn. Yes.
Okay, perhaps we can go on to the following question from Cristiano. Says the point of connection of the magnetic fields of the material state and the magnetic fields of the plasma is between the transmutation of oxygen to deuterium through emotion.
Can you repeat that?
The point of connection of the magnetic fields of the material state and the magnetic fields of the plasma is between the transmutation of oxygen to deuterium through emotion. He says, I ask this because in the 165th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, after a beautiful teaching about the connection and conversion between CH3 and CO2, a knowledge seeker asks the question starting at 157 and 58 about how does oxygen change to H2 energy, whether it is through the lung or through emotion? Could you please expand on that knowledge? Thank you very much.
It's we do it on the physical dimension in the lung, but the whole essence how it is to feed the soul. And the passage of the oxygen through what I call the breathing passage to increase the deposit or to change the elevation of the strength of the soul of the man. The process of one of the most important things to understand in the body of the man and in the dimension of the life on this planet, oxygen is the gravitational field force, is what is holding the life together as amino acid. And that goes due by principle in the magnetic field. The strength of itself is the heaviest element. Carbon is a communicator. Hydrogen is the deliverer of transport. And nitrogen is storage tank. And in a way, if you understand this, then in any position in the universe, when you see life, you understand the combination of the fields that leads to creation and sustaining that life, you look for the holder of it. And when you look at the oxygen and in combination, conversion to deuterium or hydrogen, you go back on the line of what they call universal line of creation of magnetic fields connection. We have this across all the elements, but oxygen on this planet, due to gravitational mass field force of the plasma, holds that what called responsible that position. You cannot be the lightest and holding everything together. But when you're heaviest, your gravitational pull pulls the other together in common and positions you in respect to them. And when this positioning is done, then you create life, because you can sustain it, you can create hold position. Then you get the position of the, what we call communicating to bring what is needed and what to give. You bring a storage what you need, you give out what you need, you take, and then you create a line of transfer of energy, and you create life. And this part of due to what you call magnetic field positioning of the Earth and oxygen and adding up the hydrogen to it gives this opportunity to it. If you look at it, I look at the water. Water is a beautiful liquid gas, if you understand, which the combination of two gases gives the liquid. You have the hydrogen and oxygen. And then this common denominator, due to presence of the oxygen, creates that common denominator of the gravitational mass energy for protein or the amino acid. That's why amino acids stay liquid in this environment. And that's why 95% of our body more or less weight is massed by water. Once you understand the physiology of the magnetic plasmatic fields, then you see how one is connected and how life is created and how life is connected and what holds the gravitational field of life in given time and position and place. Oxygen is one of the key players in life because on one side has a common denominator in the liquid of this planet, which is the water. And then at the same time has a common denominator in the structure of the body of the life, which is amino acid. That's why when it combines together with another element, gives the flexibility of the tissue, a plant, and everything else. And then you have when you have the amino acid with your spare hydrogens and connection with the amino acid again in connection with line, then you bring active life. Because you have 3 hydrogens which are continuously interacting and juggling for field forces. And carbon needs to play that game in the presence of nitrogen. Then you see how life is created on this planet. And why our protein are liquidish, what do you call it, dynamic. And always connect themselves to water. You've seen it, you should have understood this when you made the gas boxes. How you get the layer of amino acid on top. Because the amino acid by nature has oxygen, which is the heaviest element connecting to the another oxygen which is within the water. Any other question?
Okay, from our YouTube, from Edward. Hello, Mr. Keshe. What is the role of the sacral bone in the structure of human physicality? Thank you.
Would you like to use your, what I call, fantastic system and show us what it is?
Okay, just a second here.
I bet our translators are scratching their head. How to translate and what it is.
Okay. So let me see here. The sacral bone, I believe it's sacral vertebrae. There's actually several of them, apparently, from S1 to S5. And basically, the sacrum is the center part of this, the bones of the anatomy. It's essentially the base of the spine. And the vertebrae of the spine go down to the sacrum.
What we call the tailbone.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to the time when we had a tail as a creatures. And as we became upright and it started sitting more, we gradually lost the tail and the bone bent in. And now it's still there. It's part of the support of the skeleton to sit upright or to hold you not to fall backwards. And does not have much. It's the part of the history of the man when he was a mammal with a tail. But now we use it for balancing. It has a very interesting, what do you call it, field transmutation. And it has a lot of connection when it comes to reproduction through the soul of the man. We'll teach this sometime in the future. Where this, especially the bottom end of the tail, is the deliverer of the field through containment of the soul. It's a bit too early to teach this, but this part of it. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. Let me see here. Regarding headphones, there's a question in the Q&A here. Where to put the second headphone when you, for example, want to help an animal who is not near you?
We go through this in the session. If there are any questions, we allow a few minutes at the beginning for people asking questions.
Okay. Another question would be, can I support more than one soul in a session? I think you've said before only one person per headphone setup, basically.
Because it is connected to your emails, so you cannot do anything else.
And John Wells had another question in that regards about how will the people that don't understand the English language manage the connection in these sessions?
You should have translators for the languages.
Yeah, it seems to be at least probably half a dozen of the popular languages.
You have the German, the English, the French, we have the Iranians, we have the Chinese, we have the Portuguese. Anybody else? I think these are the languages. Italians.
Italians. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets translated directly in the sessions. We've done this up to now. But because these sessions are there instantaneously, people absorb, understand.
Further questions of, can persons with implants attend the July sessions?
We advise you not to. We advise you not to.
You mentioned, you said that you know how to reverse the effects of plasma fields, so it's possible to reverse the effects over implants and leave the rest of the body in the plasma state during the plasma processing so that it could heal whatever is wrong and not affect the implant zones in the same time.
Yes, yeah, but that's for special cases,
Mhm.
but not for collective sessions like this. Any other question?
Philip, who says, do you have the backing of the universal community? I mean, the treachery of the Belgian king and Gates, etc., would do anything to stop this science, like these black op people
Oh,
assassinating scientists and on.
they already are doing, and they are very busy with it. They are still doing it. They're very busy with it. You got to understand. You touch a point which is very, what I call, we are not touchy about it, but it's the fact part of the Keshe Foundation work. A lot of the things we got involved and trapped with, and we still, even today, we are trapped with and we battle with the Belgian structure, was taking out the Keshe Foundation to Belgium. And all of it was set and then was used by people who were inside the Keshe Foundation. And when we went out to get rid of them, they tried to still cause problems. But in general, when there is no kingship, and when we come to end of these kingships, and that state, that government, that country will dissolve back into, I was talking about this with one of the knowledge seekers past couple of days, about how this country was established and it's going to go back into what it was. This country is not our problem and headache anymore. We have moved on, and in time it will be processed by themselves. The abuse and the misuse and the killing of different ways and different things, different people for the benefit of rulers is not the exclusivity of one nation. Any other question? Are we there?
Sorry, I had my mic off there. We had a question in the in our chat here in German, and the translation is, can one connect and maintain the knowledge and understanding of plasma technology in the July sessions?
Repeat.
Can one connect and maintain the knowledge and understanding of plasma technology in the July sessions? Thank you.
I don't know. It's a question I can't answer. It depends the knowledge seekers present understood, want to share through their soul.
Depends on one's intention and so on as well.
Yeah. Unless you want to tap into my brain, which I don't think I'm. That's, even though we are in session, we are outside the sessions. There's the way we set up. Even though we stay in most of the, I mean, we are in all the sessions, but we are outside the sessions. We keep that to 3 or 4 people in the Keshe Foundation in that level. The people who operate outside during the sessions are usually not part of the session, so you cannot tap into, or they don't get involved into the process unless they choose so. Any other question?
Okay, from
hours into this. Yep. Carry on.
From Josafa from Brazilian community. Mr. Keshe, good morning. Thank you all for all the love and patience. You always say that the soul is conscious when we create a dome with the intention of creating a condition of love and peace for other souls that are in certain conflicts and cannot see that through peace and service, it would be much simpler. Somehow a communication begins to occur. Is this communication conscious, even of those who don't have the knowledge? Or are we the ones who are seeking to understand that we are aware of it?
It's a combination of both. It's not exclusivity of knowledge, it's not exclusivity of man. It's a combination of everything put together. We carry inherently part of our genetic for that. You got to realize something which is very natural in all processes of creation is that even our brain has section which is responsible for the interface between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. When you find a position of the soul, you always see that interface line. This is what I spoke about earlier today, that where we draw a line between the physicality and the plasma in the emotion. And our brain has specifically developed, not us, all animals, all creatures which have a brain, soul structure, for that purpose, to that effect. To translate, to transfer, to what you call it, synchronize between the two emotions and two dimensions of the soul. And we gradually learn it. Those who become master in this will have a beautiful time in doing it. Any other question?
Okay, we have one more question in the Q&A from Philip. Let's see if I can do justice to it. So the soul sits in the third ventricle and the spinal fluid is charged by it to reduce in strength as it travels to give certain field energies for certain parts of the organs, like the sun's rays.
What?
I thought you might say that. So the soul sits in the third ventricle, I guess in the heart, he's saying, and the spinal fluid is charged by it to reduce in strength as it travels to give certain field energies for certain parts of the organs, like the sun's rays.
I don't understand this, where the soul got to the heart.
I guess he's saying that if the soul sits at the heart, it's like the sun's rays giving out to the spinal fluid, which then travels to the organs to provide them energies. Is that the way it works?
Not really. If you have a heart of a man, you cannot make a man. If you have a brain of the man, you can make a man. So I think you get your answer.
That's a good point.
Shall we call it a day? Or is there more questions?
He mentioned it was the third ventricle of the brain he was talking about. Okay, so I guess that kind of ties in.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps we should wrap it up, Mr. Keshe.
Yeah, for today. Thank you very much for today, and please, if you're joining us on the 3 sessions, try to complete and conclude as fast as possible. And we will let you know how to use the system, but make sure you have at least 2 headphones. Some of you might need 3 if you want to do different things and examine and develop things for yourself. And as I said, those of you who've been trying to get yourself to Lens Keshe Foundation exhibition in Lens workshop most will end up next week. If we push it to the following weekend, I'll be it, as we are closing operation in Austria. The exhibition will move to one of the world capitals in the coming weeks, and then we move on to other works of the Keshe Foundation. Thank you very much for today, and see you next week.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, number 493 in a row weekly, I should add. And this one's for Thursday, July 6, 2023. We look forward to the next public teaching workshop, which is the public meeting for testimonials coming up on Monday, July 10th. And that starts at 8 p.m. Central European time. And we invite people from anywhere who's a knowledge seeker who has had experience with the plasma technology. Please come and let people know of your experience, because if you share, then that's a good way to help pay back for receiving this knowledge. So that's a good avenue for people to do that. Again, that's Monday starting at 8 p.m. at Central European time, and on our usual channel. Okay, I guess that's it for now. Thank you everybody for attending today's workshop, and we'll see you in the next public teaching workshop. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for being here again. Okay, bye for now.